One Wrestling Goes Old School. Starring The Laughter, Big Ray, Bill Schuyler, and Billy Ray Valentine. One Wrestling Goes Old School every Thursday night here at OneWrestling.com.
Wrestling fans of all ages, welcome to One Wrestling Goes Old School. I am the show, Bill Schuyler, and I am joined tonight with the Prince of Podcasts, Billy Ray Valentine of the PW Hustle at the PW Podcast, Podbean, and iTunes, and the King of New York, my hermano El Jefe Mero Mero, Ray Hernandez of Big Ray's Show, and as always, our wrestling guru, the Godfather, the legend himself, Bill Apter One, and a special shout out to our Can-Am Wrestling, the Canadian Destroyer, Andre_Corbeil. Follow One Wrestling Reporters, Andre Corbeil, Big Ray, and myself as we cover Raw, SmackDown, NXT, Impact, you name it. We got it covered. If it's going on in professional wrestling, it's happening here at One Wrestling. I have got to say it has been a newsworthy week in the world of professional wrestling, in and out of the business, as far as injuries and surgeries and the like. Similar situations going on with me. What kind of week have you guys had, my friend? It's been a while.
Hey, man, it's a serious week. You know what I mean? It's all over the place for me, just like you. But I'm glad we can all get here together and, do another school of One Wrestling Goes Old School. Another taping, not another school. But you can call it school because it's educational for all the wrestling fans out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
My week sucked. But took a turn for the better. I actually had a pretty decent week winding down. So the last day or two has been okay. But my week was rough.
Well, I'm very happy to hear that the last couple of days have been okay, my friend.
Yeah. Derek Jeter, got the base hit in his last game in Pinstripes. The Giants beat the Redskins, What else happened? It was my brother's birthday. So all this happened actually in one day. And I was driving over in Brooklyn. It was supposed to rain the day Derek Jeter got the hit to win the game. And,
Yeah, you had a beautiful day.
There was a damn rainbow, which
Nice.
follow me on Instagram.
That's all that money.
Yeah.
Double rainbows.
If you follow me on Instagram, you'll see that I posted it. I'm also at Big Ray Show on Instagram. So, long week. I'm tired, and I have to go to work sometime later today.
Hey, man, we all got to do what we got to do. What's the show about?
What it is.
What's the show about, Billy?
All right, sir. We are going to do a rundown of a segment from way back in the day, back in 1986. And it's a review of the story of the gorgeous ladies of professional wrestling. G.L.O.W used to be a highlight of the young teenage boys' wrestling days, if you know what I'm saying, with women that were out of control, because as crazy as the WWF was back then with their big superheroes and their villains, their women's division had kind of slid off the picture. And, they decided there, I believe it was David McLean and Jackie Stallone, Sylvester Stallone's mother,
Right.
and Pia Zadora's husband, whose name escapes me right now, but they decided that why should the guys have all the fun? Let's get a women's wrestling organization together, and they did, and they formed G.L.O.W. And these were not professional wrestlers. They were kind of like the Divas today. They were women who were actresses and models at first, brought them in, but instead of what they've done in recent times, they decided to actually train these women before they put them on the air. And they had Mondo Guerrero of the Guerrero family actually training these girls, teaching them the business and what it was to be a professional wrestler. And they kept it kayfabe so much that they made the girls sign away and move to Las Vegas. They set them up in the Riviera Hotel and Casino, and they lived the kayfabe life. They could not hang out with the good girls, couldn't be with the bad girls. If they got caught, they were fined. And it was definitely old school, with a big, campy, sexy, out of this, just crazy life. What did you guys think about that growing up watching Glow? Did you catch that when you were back?
You know what? I was incredibly young, but any wrestling I could get my hands on, I would, and Glow would come on, and I would definitely watch. My favorite Glow personality of all time was Mount Fiji. She just had so much charisma. She wasn't, one of the gorgeous girls that came in. She was a big woman, a big girl, but she was always ready to go. And she had a great attitude about it. She had a lot of rhythm too. She used to be able to dance during those raps that they did. I really enjoyed her. I enjoyed what's the other one? Little Fiji. Her little
Little Fiji, yes.
Yeah. She was very cute when I was a kid. I thought she was something to look at. So I always would tune in for that. It was great. It was great times watching it, and the documentary itself. You don't have to be a wrestling fan, because it's not even that much about wrestling. It's more about the creation of the show and who these people were and their career aspirations, like moving into they were pretty much casted into this. As a part in professional wrestling. They weren't professional wrestlers,
Right.
No, and it's you talked about Mount Fiji. She actually was also in I believe she was in the Olympics, or she was on the team to go. She was a shot putter, and she was strong as could be. She could power lift and slam everybody on that roster, and she had open challenges to people anywhere they went. It was like an attraction. The guys would come into town, and it would be a challenge that if she could get a hold of you, she could body slam you regardless of how big you were, and she picked you up and she body slammed you. She was tough. And I don't know. How about you, Ray? Were you a fan of Glow?
No, I didn't like scantily clad women running around the ring.
Not then, huh?
Of course I did. Are you crazy?
Never. I would never expect Ray to be the type of guy that likes scantily clad women.
Let me tell you something. That was literally one of my favorite shows on TV ever. I disregarded any cartoon that was on at that point in juncture, not just because it was wrestling, but my favorite. My favorite wrestler, and Lewis, I think on your end there's a lot of background noise.
I'll take care.
That's fine. One of my favorite wrestlers back then was a young lady called the Farmer's Daughter.
Oh my God, Brandy, yes.
I don't know if you remember the Farmer's Daughter. She was one of my favorites. She was hot, and I think that's why I have that kind of a fixation on.
She was like the ultimate
shirt tied
face.
Up.
Yeah, she was a good girl. She did. Yeah, she was like a complete virgin-esque. Oh,
right,
yeah.
and then they had the Russian, as we see the children crawling in the background out of sight, in Billy Ray's
very quietly
in Billy Ray's house. But
the Russian girl was fantastic.
Who was her name? Natashka. Natashka. She was also
a cigar, and she was tremendous, bro. She was kind of a pre Lana. But not anywhere near as sexy and hot as Lana is today. But her whole gimmick she had is something I would love to see Lana get more involved in.
Do you remember the two Samoan chicks? I think they were two Samoan girls, and one of them actually, I don't know if Billy Ray, do you remember the two Samoan chicks? They were a tag team. They were like really wild, crazy chicks, and then one of them actually broke her arm on TV.
Oh my God, that was sick.
I don't remember the two Samoan chicks. I remember somebody breaking her arm.
I think it was a Samoan chick.
Dude, she broke her arm, and they replayed that over and over, and her arm snapped back, and the tendon actually ripped out of her skin. And she, in the documentary, it says she actually picked it up. And like everybody else, she was afraid she was going to lose her job. So she got backstage, and the doctor's looking at her, and she's like, "Can we just wrap this up and put it back? We have another show to do tonight." And he's like, "You're not going back to work for about 6 months." And she was like, didn't know what to do. But I was like, imagine that, bro. She picked up
her tendon
and wanted to continue to wrestle.
But
my favorite was to jump in that my girl was Tina Ferrari, who later on became the two-time WWE or WWF Women's Champion, Ivory. Eventually she was in the what was that stupid gimmick they had with the
right to censor.
Right to censor. Yeah, that pretty much ended
you said
her
stupid
career.
Gimmick, and I knew exactly what the hell you were talking about.
There you go.
She was great.
She was.
Yeah, I enjoyed her in the WWE, and you know what? I never made the connection that she was in
Oh,
Glow.
really?
Yeah,
Okay.
like when I saw her in the WWE, it never once crossed my mind that she was in Glow. Up until much later, I was like,
Yeah.
whoa.
She was a much
And
bigger girl back in Glow.
yeah, yeah.
She wasn't as fine-tuned as she had become when she got to the WWE.
And she was the only one to make the successful transition into the WWE, from what I can tell, right?
Yeah, I believe there was one other girl whose name, like, she was nobody. I think she made it in basically as a jobber and was only there for a couple months, and then she was gone. So yeah, she's the only girl to actually become a success in the business. One story. Oh,
I was
I'm
gonna
sorry.
say real quick, I'm surprised that WWE never picked up on like Mount Fiji or Big Bad Mama
Yeah.
or any of
These
those girls
these
that were
girls
over in
had
the 80s.
national exposure. They were on every show from Donahue. You name any of the daytime scandal type of shows, Jerry Springer and the like, they were on there. They were on late night TV. Uh, uh, the big redheaded girl, Mongolian, whatever her name was, she had put threats out to Hulk Hogan, and she wound up. She was like on Married with Children. They were on
Oh,
national exposure. They were
remember,
everywhere.
remember Hollywood and Vine, that tag team?
Hollywood and Vine, yes.
Yeah.
And then they
Anyway,
had the Heavy Metal Sisters, Chainsaw, and they were sick. And they had the housewives who were there, like in the house coats
that's
With
with
all
right.
with all that stuff on their
cold cream
face.
on their face
Yeah, man. And the chainsaw chick really walked around with a working
with a real
chainsaw, apparently.
chainsaw. Yeah,
Who does that?
Can you
Maybe
imagine
Glow
trying?
did.
insane.
Can you imagine a fan trying to high five and then just the arm is missing? He's like
Yeah, I mean,
stuffed.
she was saying that people thought it was a prop, that they thought it
Right.
was fake, and they would reach out and be like, "Hey, man, this is a real blade."
And they
Okay,
had her
get
actually
this.
started cutting things up in the ring so people would see.
Yeah.
So real
And
quick.
it's a show. It lasted for 4 years,
Yeah.
and it could have went a lot longer because their ratings were right up there with NWA. They were up there with the WWE for the Saturday morning shows. They played all hours of the day and night on syndication. And the main owner had some problems. Again, he was married to Pia Zadora, an actress at the time that was somewhat famous but had a lot of money. And he apparently liked to get a little too close to the girls. And she told her, "You pull your money out and close this production down now, or I'm divorcing you and I'm taking all your money."
I'm sure he
And
pulled
being it
out.
was, yeah, he pulled out real quick, and
Yeah.
that was it. And Glow was over, and the girls, nobody knew it was over. They just basically got, it's done. And
Damn.
they've never had reunions. They never had any kind of real get-togethers. It was just done. It's kind of sad for them because they were hard-working girls. And again, it's a great little documentary. It's available on DVD. You can get it on Netflix right now.
What's the name of it
Uh,
again?
it's called Glow, and it's the story of the gorgeous ladies of professional wrestling.
Okay. I mean,
And
so
I recommend it. I give it like I would say 4 out of 5 stars. It's a very good documentary. All the
very cool.
girls talk. Anybody involved in the product has moments and chances to talk about how it was backstage, what it was like in the crowd, in the business, the respect they did or didn't get from the rest of the business and the guys in the business. Definitely worth your time to check out. I
Very
highly
cool.
recommend it.
Very cool, guys. Very cool. So, what's next on the agenda, my friend?
Well, we have is what we like to call the main event.
Oh, ding, ding,
Right.
ding.
Ding, ding, ding. Our main event this week is a slobber knocker, if you will, talking about Ring of Honor.
Oh,
That's right. Ring of Honor Ladder Wars 2 in New York City back in September 2009 at the Glory by Honor 8. And this was, in my opinion, one of the greatest of the ladder wars that had went on in the company. We had the Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions, Davey Richards, Eddie Edwards, going up against Kevin Steen and El Generico. The kick in this was that Eddie and Davey were the heels, which was not normally the case, but they were hated in this feud with Steen and Generico, and the crowd was 100% behind Generico and Steen. And this match is, to me, it was untouchable. It was insane. The hits, the bumps, and things going on with these ladders, these chairs, the tables. Oh my! You really, literally couldn't believe what you were watching in the ring. Um, Eddie had broken his arm, his elbow, actually, the night before. I believe Steen had broken it. Legit, no kayfabe, was in with a giant wrapping and cast and wanted to get paybacks and not to let the fans down for this match, which seems to be a recurring theme here tonight, is wrestlers who put it all on the line regardless of injury.
Or wrestlers that break their arms, apparently.
Apparently break their arms. And they took it to it. And I don't Billy Ray, this match, do you recall your thoughts of the ladder wars that Ring of Honor had just really begun at that time?
Well, I know anytime the American Wolves are in the ring, I'm gonna love it because I am an American Wolves mark. It is no secret that Davey Richards is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. He's probably the reason that I'm sitting here talking to you now, besides Hulk Hogan, because after John Cena made Shawn Michaels tap, I made a vow that I would never watch wrestling again up until somebody brought me to an ROH show and I saw Davey Richards and I was like, that guy's amazing. And I'm back in this. Yeah,
you were born again in Ring of Honor. I love it.
I really was. And you know, with guys like Generico and Steen, you know, both of them now in NXT. I mean, those guys, every time when they were together as a tag team or when they were going up against each other one-on-one, it was always magic in the ring. So putting all these combustible elements together, you got the Wolves, you got Generico and Steen, you know you were going to get a crazy match. And it's a ladder match, you know? So there were a lot of high spots, all types of stuff like that. It was a beautiful match to watch.
Now, this is the match, if I'm correct, where Steen actually put Generico through the ladder. Where he pile drove him through the freaking ladder. Is that correct?
No, that was Ladder Wars 4.
Oh, that was 4.
That was a one-on-one match.
Jesus Christ!
This one had an equally cool match. It was a finisher. It's to jump ahead because we're going to jump around because it's that kind of match. It was that crazy. Generico, when he was a face, which most of his career he always has been, and Generico just could never get to that dark zone to take it to the limit and get the belts and to go over so much. And Steen was always the one that seemed to be his guy, whether it was his opponent or as his tag team partner, he would light it up and Generico would go to that next level. And that's what he did in this match. Generico went off the wall, full tilt boogie with the ladders, the chairs, the tables. He was beating the living hell out of Steen. I'm sorry, not Steen, out of Eddie and Davey Richards. You had this point here where, if you recall, Davey had handcuffed Steen behind his back, and Generico had been up on the ladder and got tossed off the ladder. He's out, and then the chain that was used to break Eddie Edwards' elbow the night before was brought in and tied around Davey's foot, and they just kicked the living hell out of Steen in the corner until they just left him like a crushed mess.
Wow. And
Generico finally got back in, and he got a hold of the keys, and he got him loose. And talking about that match up on top of the ladder, Generico gets up there. Eddie's almost got the belts. Him and Eddie are going at it, fist and fury up top. It didn't know how they were going to do it. Were they going to flip off what it was? And he pulls Generico's legs through the ladder, and he gives him a half Boston crab through the ladder, falling all the way backwards. And Generico's just flopping there, unable to move, and a Boston crab hanging off a ladder. And Davey climbs up over top of him and grabbed the titles for the win.
Nice.
And it's a similar thing that we talked about NXT with Sami Zayn and a yet-to-be newly named Kevin Steen yet in NXT. Sami Zayn, if you notice, it's that same thing. He doesn't have that killer edge yet. He always seems to fall short of winning that title. And he's kind of doing that back and forth with Adrian Neville right now. And I really think that when Kevin Steen comes in very soon in the next couple of weeks, these two are either going to be tag partners or they're going to wind up feuding to bring that fire into Sammy, just like he did for Generico for the last 15 years that those guys have been doing it from Canada to New York to Japan throughout the world. And the match was just unbelievable. I mean, you know, you had the ladder strikes, body slams, being put through the ladders, Yakuza kicks. You know, dude, I love those Yakuza kicks. Not a haluva kick, it's a Yakuza kick.
Yeah, man.
Putting them through the tables and the steel. And the Wolves, bro, I mean, they didn't, you know, they didn't hold back either, man. They were in full heel mode, and they just did everything they could to destroy Kevin Steen and Generico. And again, it wound up to that Boston Crab in the ladder.
Hey, Bill, let me ask you a question, right? Real quick, man.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know we're talking about the old school here, but we are talking about two fairly current tag teams with the Wolves, right?
Yeah.
And we got Generico and Steen, who aren't a tag team anymore, but they're actually going to be propelled into the mainstream very soon as individual wrestlers, right? Now, back then, not too long ago, actually, the Wolves tried out for NXT. And they were denied. Don't you think? I mean, they're such a great tag team. If anybody, if anybody gets a chance to go to ROH shows, if ROH comes to your town, pay the $20 and go see it, because you're gonna see classic wrestling there. You're gonna see classic wrestling, and it's cheap. Yeah, and you get to see guys that are coming up like Sami Zayn. You get to see guys like Kevin Steen, Samoa Joe, Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, you name them.
Tyler Black, all these guys that have become superstars in NXT and the WWE now. Go see Impact Wrestling for the Wolves. The Wolves are the champs. They've been tearing it up since they got in the building.
If I may, from what I understand and what I hear, Davey Richards wasn't always the most liked person backstage. Listen, from what I hear, Davey Richards was not very liked, and he admitted himself that he had a lot of growing up to do. During that time that they did try out for the WWE, which was not too long ago, I think he did rub some people the wrong way, from what I hear and what I understand. And again, you know, I never say anything I don't know what I'm talking about. And that was, unfortunately, one of the things that actually might have kept them out. It wasn't. It was also a factor that they were looking at Davey Richards' size at the time also, which was also a factor. But
age and injuries.
But it was mostly his attitude at the time towards the business. Now from what I hear now, is that his attitude has changed quite a bit.
I think he's been humbled a little bit, because you're absolutely right. And, you know, I mean, what they used to say about his size, you know, that he was a small guy, I don't buy that, you know, because they have guys like Pac there, you know what I mean, who is his size.
Now.
Yeah, exactly. No, Adrian Neville. No.
But he had been there. He'd have been there for already 2 years.
I think the main reason he was kept out was his attitude, like Big Ray said. I think that's the main reason. You know, I mean, he said so many things, burned so many bridges. And you know, I really wanted him to get there, to get to that point. I think he had a lot to offer, like the next coming of the Dynamite Kid or a Chris Benoit was Davey Richards.
That's literally what he was. And he was just like Tom Billington was hated backstage as the Dynamite Kid. Same thing going for Davey. And it was no secret in Ring of Honor, other than Jim Cornette, when Jim Cornette was running it, every other promoter that ran Ring of Honor hated Davey Richards. The guys in the locker room hated Davey Richards because he was nasty. He was there's a thing about being snug and stiff, and then there's this out and out hitting guys to hurt guys, and he was into doing that, and he had no problem giving a guy really tremendous blows. And he was getting ready to leave the business. That's the other thing I think Triple H looked at, because he had said that if things don't work out for me the way I want it to be in the next year or so, he had got his license. He's actually a licensed EMT in the city of New York. Mm-hmm. And he was going to leave the business. So that's another thing they're looking at, like, you know, we're going to put the money in this guy and then he's going to leave. But they go there to become champions. Who would have thought 3 years ago that the Wolves, Steen, and Generico all these guys from Ring of Honor would be in the big leagues, especially the guys that are in the next NXT. I don't mean to downplay Impact, but regardless, WWE is the top of the
heap. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, they are the cream of the crop, and they are the best. As great as Impact did, as much as I love it, I believe you got to figure Daniel Bryan, CM Punk helped break that opening for small guys.
I think CM Punk out of everyone was the one who actually broke the mold and showed that you didn't have to be number one 6'8", you didn't have to be tremendously jacked. You know what I'm saying? You didn't have to be born and bred in that WWE system. You know, there are many talented people that came out of the independent circuit. You know, people forget that the Hardys, right?
Yes, absolutely.
The Hardys were backyard wrestlers. They really made their name in the backyards. Trampoline wrestling. You know, I'm not saying that that's the way to go. I mean, I would advise anyone, if you guys are going to try to get in the ring, you know, go to a reputable school. You know, my father used to train with a guy named Johnny Roz. He runs a really good school down in Gleason's gym where I used to box when I was a kid. My brother boxed there. My father also boxed in the old Gleason's gym, and they still run a great wrestling program. Or the Dudley boys actually have a very, very good school. Who else has a great school? You have what's his name?
Amazing Red's got the
Amazing Red School. Who's
Killer Kowalski.
Killer Kowalski School. Shawn Michaels.
Triple H's guy. That's
you know what I'm saying?
Train Triple H.
I mean, you know, you have so many reputable schools out there now. Obviously, you have to put your heart and time into it. But anyway, to get back to Davey Richards, I think now, let's say their contract expired with with TNA Wrestling, right? I think Triple H may or might take another look at them.
I think he would.
It's because Triple H is an old school at heart. He's an old school mark at heart. He's an NWA guy. We talked about this before. He was not a WWF fan growing up. He was an NWA guy.
Absolutely, 100%.
And you know, Bill, I think in your NXT review, you stated that NXT at this time was the hottest promotion in professional wrestling today. And who's running it? It's Triple H, and he's running it.
Triple H.
And I think he's running it the right way. But go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, not to get off of the thing, but in my opinion, I think what you're finding out and going to see, and if people are getting a chance to study and see what went on with ECW with Paul Heyman and Vince McMahon behind the scenes, I think is a similar thing is going to happen with Ring of Honor, if it's not already, that money is being put into Ring of Honor, that backdoor deals are being done to use them as a training ground for new talent to get brought into NXT. NXT is not, which I'll go into more on every Friday night at 1WRESTLING NXT review for a cheap plug. They are their own promotion. They are going to be a separate roster. They are not going to be just for training and sorts. They're going to start going on the road, and they are literally going to be that independent style pro wrestling guerrilla look, but with all the bells and whistles, the pyro and the nice setup and the nice arena. And they're going to have the superstars of the future are there. And they're not just going to go up and disappear into the mid-card. They're going to keep the guys there. They're going to get promotions there. They're going to have money get paid as they improve. Just a lot of different things going on. But, yeah, Richards definitely a similar situation that happened with the Young Bucks when they also had went to WWE back before they became so huge now worldwide. They were disrespectful to the guys in the back, whether they were trying to be funny maybe and kick it off. The old guys didn't care for that, thought they were disrespectful, and they didn't get a chance, and they didn't get to even see NXT. They got tossed before they even made it through a tryout. And now, of course, I think the Young Bucks very much could get signed into NXT down the road. Whether they would want to go or not, I don't know. They make a lot of money right now. But the Wolves, one of the best teams ever, two of the best wrestlers of our generation, and Steen and Generico, without a doubt, are two of the best. I was not a big fan of Generico losing the mask and becoming a different character, but I think it did make sense in the long run, given the longevity that he was. And what will happen with Steen, I don't know. Let's see what kind of name they come up with Kevin.
I have a question for you guys. Now I had to step away, obviously, because my son needed me at that point of juncture. But so did we go over the finish of that match, and did we?
Yeah, we talked about that. That was we were talking about the ladder match when you broke away, and they were at the top, and Eddie had pulled in real quick. He pulled Generico's legs through the top of the ladder and put him in a half Boston crab,
Right,
and had
okay.
him dangling. And Davey Richards climbed up over top of him to take the titles and win the match.
Very
And
cool.
one of the best ladder wars, and that's saying a lot. The ladder wars are some of the best ladder matches you're going to see in the business. I won't compare them to the original ones as far as with the Dudleys and
Oh,
Christian
no.
and Edge, and that was just magic and lightning in a bottle. But for the brutality and the spot fests and the just, it's a whole different animal in Ring of Honor, the way they do their ladder and chairs matches.
Really quickly, Billy Ray, do you have anything to say before we close down this segment and move on to the dream match, my friend?
Yeah, definitely. I just want to get a couple of things in. Like, also we got to keep in mind is like WWE with the table ladders chairs match between the Dudleys and Edge and Christian. The production value was so good. It's the WWE. In ROH, you're not going to get that type of production, but you will get incredible wrestling, and it's something that everybody should watch. Those matches are great on their own. Like, if you just go watch one match, it's on YouTube, on Daily Motion, go buy a DVD.
Get a best of any of the best of any of those Ring of Honor guys, Pro Wrestling Gorilla. I'll plug all of them. They got nothing to do with us, but it's wrestling, bro, and it's old school in mentality. It's old school in dedication to the wrestling craft, and it's just balls to the wall wrestling in any match you see. Everyone there, you'll have literally 4 5-star matches on a card, not 1 or 2, but literally if you got 10 matches, 8 of those are going to be 4 stars or better.
Very excited to see.
It's worth it.
Very excited to see where it goes in the future with Steen and Generico. What's our next segment? What are we moving on to?
Dream match, my friend. As we know, yes, and our dream match. One I've wanted to see for years if it was possible. And this would be Ricky the Dragon Steamboat in his prime. Say 1985, 1986 Ricky Steamboat up against the Samoan submission machine, Samoa Joe, in his prime in the wars that he had in Ring of Honor.
Wait, we're talking about Samoa Joe with the blonde hair?
Not at that time.
Okay.
Yeah, he was in Ring of Honor. That was when he was in Velocity.
Okay, so I'm thinking back. I'm thinking back a little further.
Yeah, not a jobber. This is when he was in the war with CM Punk and Daniel Bryan Danielson at that time. It's a 60-minute match, falls count anywhere. Grudge match, no DQ, Charlotte, North Carolina. And I don't know. That's what do you think? Well, should Ricky Steamboat be the face? What do you think?
Well, obviously Ricky Steamboat's going to be the face.
So we might, have him turn heel. He's never done it.
No, Ricky Steamboat for me is the ultimate face. And you know what's funny about Ricky Steamboat? He was one of those wrestlers that could always be a face, and nobody got tired of it.
No one would get pissed. No one would boo.
Because he was.
He came out with his kid.
He was the cool kung fu guy. Yeah. Which is funny because he's Hawaiian.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, by descent, I believe he does have a Japanese. I think his mom was Japanese.
His mom is Japanese.
His mom is Japanese. But anyway, I see Ricky Steamboat definitely being a face and Samoa Joe being the heel. Now,
brutal heel.
Brutal, but not dirty. That makes sense.
Never was. His heel mentality, Samoa Joe's, it wasn't so much he's typical. Look at Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar's not really breaking the rules. He's just breaking your ass
Yeah.
and just tearing you apart.
Yeah.
He's not cheating. He's not grabbing chairs. He doesn't have his, Paul Heyman's not handing him brass knuckles.
Nope.
None
He
of
doesn't
that
need
kind
him.
of stuff. It's just brutal violence. And if he can't beat you down, then he'll choke you out. And if he can't choke you out, then he'll tie you up and twist you out. Samoa Joe was and still is a beast. It's thankfully now he's starting to get a push again. It had been a number of years that he had been left in the wind in Impact Wrestling, but he was in Ring of Honor a guy that was unreal and a guy who's has a lot of fans in the WWE, from Stone Cold Steve Austin to Triple H.
Oh yeah.
CM Punk, and many others in the company that have been trying to get Joe brought over for years, and Vince wouldn't do it. Always that possibility now that he could wind up in NXT.
I have a question, Billy Ray. How would you book this match, my friend?
Well, you want to
run through book the match and give me the finish.
Wow. Okay. So from the get, right? Samoa Joe comes in first, and then Steamboat comes in with his grand entrance, playing that Chicago Bulls finals entrance music that he had when he would come to the ring, right? And he's walking with his kid, right? So they walk into the ring, and he's holding his kid. Samoa Joe is about to attack him, even with his kid in his hand, but he waits for a little bit because he doesn't want to get relentlessly booed. So he hands off the kid to his wife, and then Samoa Joe just attacks him right away into the corner. Just hits him, like just bum rushes him and gives him a splash into the corner, and then he starts hitting him, punching him, picks him up, gives him a slam, and then does a leg drop, runs for a leg drop, and all of a sudden, Steamboat turns it on him, whips him into the corner, and then Steamboat runs at him, but Samoa Joe does that classic rock bottom type thing that he does that in the corner that he picks you up. And
it's an STO.
Yeah, whatever
the STO.
it is.
Yeah, judo move.
Yep,
he does that, and he throws him to the ground violently. That's so. Take it from there, Big Ray.
All right. So from this point in juncture, I actually do see now Ricky Steamboat was known to be an amazing seller. Ricky Steamboat wasn't afraid to make the other guy that he was working with look fantastic. I do see Samoa Joe, just like you said, bum rushing him, but I see Ricky Steamboat frustrating him with his speed, his agility. I see Steamboat hitting him with savate kicks, and I also see Samoa Joe coming back with leg kicks. Samoa Joe hitting him with a chop. They go back and forth, chopping each other, just reddening and just tearing up each other's chest. I see them going outside the ring. I mean, I think this is going to be one of the most brutal matches, but also a thing of beauty because both of these guys move like cruiserweights when they are both, in fact, legitimate heavyweights. Now, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat at one point in juncture gets put in multiple submission holds. Able to break the submission holds, I see Samoa Joe growing increasingly frustrated, becoming more and more of a brute, losing his composure during the match. Now, I also see Ricky Steamboat now, after receiving quite a beating from Samoa Joe, becoming distracted as Samoa Joe walks out of the ring and addresses his wife and child. Bill?
With that, I would see Samoa Joe talking to her about what a real man in the sport of professional wrestling can do, and that child needs to have a real man around him, not a washed up has-been like Ricky Steamboat, which at this point Steamboat would absolutely lose it, where he would get into that kung fu style thing and just come at and attack him and start hitting him with chops and the electric chair drop, boom, going at it back and forth. Joe not taking to that. Joe tying him up, takes him down in the coquina clutch. Ricky able to get out of it, frustrating Joe again. Joe works him, puts him in the chair, and does that running kick to Steamboat's face as he's seated in the corner up against the guardrail, literally knocking Steamboat up and over the railing into the crowd. At this point, you would think that this match is how much further could Ricky Steamboat go? And Ricky Steamboat, my friends, can go a whole hell of a lot better. 60 minutes, he's been there and done that. Joe has as well, but experience being what it is, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat will come back into this and begin his submission holds. And whether he putting him in crucifixes, figure 4 leg locks, and putting up to finish it, and this is how I had seen this match ending, is Ricky the Dragon Steamboat would put him up in the double chicken wing elevated. Samoa Joe fighting with everything he had to break out of this hold and unable to break out, but he will not give up, refuses to submit. And with that, Steamboat looking over at his wife and child, seeing what had happened earlier and the anger and the frustration, does that elevated double chicken wing into the face buster, flat into the concrete, pinning Samoa Joe with a 1, the 2, and the 3. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, the winner.
Okay, I'm gonna give my finish, and then Billy Ray, you give your finish, because my finish is gonna be different. I have Ricky the Dragon Steamboat climbing up to the top rope. Now, again, we're all left off where Ricky the Dragon Steamboat is defending his family and he's beating the living daylights out of Joe. So this is the babyface run at the end of the match. And Ricky the Dragon Steamboat climbs to the top rope and he's getting ready for that flying body press, which he hits. But Samoa Joe is able to use Ricky the Dragon Steamboat's momentum and roll him over and put him into his submission finisher, which is I can't remember the name of the one.
The Coquina Clutch again?
The Coquina Clutch.
Yeah, or the rear naked choke. Yeah.
And I see Ricky Steamboat just you see the way he used to sell and real dramatic, and the referee's asking him, and Ricky Steamboat's passing out, and the referee 1, 2, and he reaches out. His hand starts to shake, and he looks at his wife, and his wife stands up, and she holds up his child. And Ricky Steamboat's able to start shaking, and Ricky Steamboat somehow sits up, and he actually picks up Samoa Joe and backs him into the back turnbuckle. When Samoa Joe comes back into Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, I see Ricky the Dragon Steamboat going into a various multiple small package holds like he did with Macho Man Randy Savage.
Nice.
Samoa Joe able to break them all. And then finally, these two men are exhausted. I see them just throwing those open hand slaps at each other's face. 1, Samoa Joe. 2, Ricky. 3, 4, and then Ricky the Dragon Steamboat finally getting the upper hand. Chop, into the ropes, hits him with a chop, climbs up to the top rope, goes up for the big flying body press, misses it as Samoa Joe rolls out of the way. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat gets up. Samoa Joe grabs him head first, picks him up and drops him with
Muscle Buster.
With the Muscle Buster, pinning Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, walking over to his wife and child, looking at them, shaking his head, and walking away, giving the sign, "I love you." And Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, you see his wife crawl into the ring. She's crying. She's over him. His kids like crying and stuff. That's how I see it. You know why I say this? Ricky the Dragon Steamboat never had a problem putting nobody over.
You're right.
Billy Ray?
That's a beautiful finish.
Billy Ray, you're going to take it away. You're going to be the one to finish this show off, my friend. So how do you finish it?
Let me just say this before anything. That was a very beautiful finish. And in the interest of being different here, I'm going to take a completely different approach, but I'm going to take it from where you left off, kind of. Okay, so he has him in the, the kimono, the rear naked choke.
The Coquina
Clutch.
The Coquina Clutch, right? This is where we're going to start it off.
All right.
So he has him in the Coquina Clutch, right? Steamboat, he's not going to give up. And he's like reaching towards the ropes and he's about to get up. Everybody's cheering like, come on, Steamboat. Let's go, Steamboat. And he's about to get off of it. He's about to knock Samoa Joe off. And he looks at his wife. His wife is outside. And his wife looks at him and tells him, "Steamboat, I want a real man."
Oh.
And then she smacks him in the face. And then he gets choked out. And it's not even the fact that Samoa Joe has applied this move. It's more that his wife has just told him that he's not a real man. And Steamboat passes out. Match is over. Samoa Joe wins it, baby.
You know, it'd be great. Samoa Joe walks out with holding Steamboat's wife in one hand and his kid in the other, and they walk backstage as a brand new family.
Damn,
that's ECW?
Is that Billy Ray or Vince Russo, bro? That is a swerve and a half.
That's
oh my God,
that's
bro, that would have been
ECW.
fantastic.
That's not your daddy. I'm your daddy.
I'm your papi.
Wasn't that Eddie Guerrero?
You hear the music in the background. Anyway, all right, why don't you take us home, Bill Schuyler?
All right, with that,
Let's go.
been a pleasure. Another week, another trip down old school, down the road, talking about life in the old-fashioned times and ways of professional wrestling. The way we grew up, the way we like it, the way we want it to be, and it can be again. Join the PW Hustle, Billy Ray, the podcast, Podbean, and iTunes.
Don't forget Andre Corbeil. And listen, don't forget to follow Bill Apter, the Godfather, After One Wrestling. I'm gonna give you everybody the Twitter handles, and I'm gonna do this my way. Follow me at Big Ray Show. Follow Bill Schuyler at You Got the Show. Follow Billy Ray Valentine at Billy Ray Hustle. Follow Andre Corbeil, Andre_Corbeil. Follow us all at One Wrestling, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget the Can-Am Wrestling Show. Follow them at Can-Am Wrestling, ladies and gentlemen. We will see you next week. For When Wrestling Goes Old School, you gotta pump some energy into this, brother. What are you gonna do when old school wrestling runs wild on you, dude? What? Yeah.
Yeah. Hold on, Ray.
What's up?
You know, we never spoke about the raps on Glow.
We're not doing no damn raps,
doing no raps on Glow.
We never spoke about it. Hey, listen, man, I
we're
wrote a rap.
gorgeous ladies of wrestling. All right, so we're gonna take you away with a rap from Billy Ray Valentine. Billy Ray.
Hey, and keep in mind that Glow, if you ever watched Glow, those were the corniest and the worst raps in the history of hip-hop, in the history of mankind.
All right.
So here we go. Here's the one that I wrote real quick. Yeah, here we go. Yo, check it out. I'm squinting because I got to read. All right. My name's Billy Ray, and I hang with Big Ray. My name's Bill Schuyler. He goes back in the day. Don't mess with us because we in a rush. And check it out. We crush you like Rusev. There you go. That's my rap. That's my rap.
Horrible. Ladies and gentlemen,
it's going somewhere.
This is When Wrestling Goes Old School. We just
crush.
We'll see you next week. I don't know what the hell just happened here.